Personal log. Ariana Hawker, Post Captain. 45th of Equinox, 291 PCU. It is with mixed emotion that I record this. My final entry as master of this vessel. Upon our arrival at Fairfax Ravelin, my first officer received some good news. A well-deserved promotion. By order of Commodore Hadley, Mr. Trevelyan will be taking over Arbitress as master and commander, and I can think of no finer officer in whose care I would wish to leave this fair vessel. He and his new command will also be joining Force Southwest within a few weeks, so perhaps we shall work together again. For my new XO, I have appointed a Mr. Sean Parkhurst, a former bosun. Hopefully the right sort of officer to ensure Vanquisher is a tightly run ship. But before we set out on our maiden voyage, I must perform that proud duty of all new commanders and read myself in.
At 9 bells on the morning of the 47th of Equinox, 291 PCU, the CSV Vanquisher sets out from Fairfax Ravelin on her maiden voyage. Her orders are to proceed to the new headquarters of Force Southwest at the naval port of Validar II, which is to serve as her new station. But she will not make this journey alone. Captain Hawker has been instructed to join a sizable supply convoy also bound for Validar II, and provide them with a naval escort for the 19-day burn to their destination.
Priority signal from Interfleet, Captain.
Go ahead.
Message reads, relayed from Commander Force Southwest to CSV Vanquisher. Be advised, Union Combined Force under FL Tandil now advanced into Outer Valeria system and begun commerce raiding operations. Escort convoy at all possible haste and proceed with due caution.
Damn. I was worried it would happen while we were away. Miss Campbell, put me through to the convoy lead. Dunmore, this is Vanquisher. All convoy ships to assume line abaft your lead in close order. Be advised, we have received word to be prepared for possible enemy raiding action.
Understood, Vanquisher. All ships getting underway.
As Hawker's convoy begins to move out of the Fairfax planetary system, they are met by an increasingly controversial sight. A fleet of several Merician treasure ships arriving from Merrick's Keep, and being allowed to pass the fledgling Axios blockade and make the transit into Union space under a flag of truce.
Mericians. Union would be out of supplies within the year if it wasn't for them. Profiteering, if you ask me.
Perhaps. But it is too much to hope for that they'd ever let go of their neutrality. War is good for business. They sell to our side too, after all.
Making good time on the first leg of their voyage, Hawker's convoy proceeds to the Axios Pioneer Gate and makes an orderly transit before 2 bells on the evening of the 56th. Cruising steadily across the vast expanse of the Pioneer system, the formation passes into the Arberg Spread, where Hawker orders the convoy to heave to allow for a few hours to carry out essential maintenance on the freighter's overtaxed engines, and for Vanquisher to carry out gunnery practice drills.
Target drones in position, ma'am.
Mr. Parkhurst, you may proceed.
Larboard battery. Single volley. Load and fire in your own time from my mark. Mark!
Two out of 3 targets destroyed. Gun captains report 39-second firing time.
Acceptable. On another ship. This time they'll do better. Reset!
Captain Hawker, hail from the Namgadi, ma'am.
On speakers.
All ships, this is Namgati. I am declaring an emergency. We have been struck by some manner of obstacle. Cannot identify yet. Deploying EVA teams to ascertain damage.
Mr. Parkhurst, what is the next closest vessel to the Namgati?
Hildegard, ma'am.
Patch us into the feed from Hildegard's aft scopes. Give me a high-resolution view of Namgati.
Feed connected. Strange. That's not a meteorite. Is that?
It's a boarding net. Mr. Chandra, lay in a course for the Namgati. Best possible speed.
Yes, ma'am.
Alert all convoy vessels immediately. Miss Campbell, sweep for any evidence of a hostile vessel nearby. Hands to quarters.
In spite of Hawker's quick and prudent action in setting course for the Namgati, the prevailing opinion aboard Vanquisher throughout the 14-minute intercept burn, and even among the senior staff, was that the boarding net that had struck the freighter was almost certainly the work of pirates, and perhaps even an abandoned net left from a pirate action many years past. Contact was lost between Namgati and the rest of the convoy at 6 bells and 33 minutes, and 10 minutes later, her engines were lit and she was burning away from the rest of the convoy at full speed.
Pursuit course, ma'am.
If she has been hijacked, Captain, then there's still a pirate vessel around here somewhere that deployed that net. We shouldn't stray far from the convoy.
Do we have a clear shot at their engines?
Not without serious risk of harming the crew.
Damn it. Mr. Chandra, all ahead flank. Get us after them.
Pushing to a high trim, Vanquisher begins to quickly gain on the fleeing Namgati, but after almost an hour of pursuit, the worst comes to pass.
Incoming fire. Oh!
We're hit!
Contact.
We're away.
3 points off the starboard beam, 154,000 kilometers.
Mr. Chandra, evasive maneuvers. Damage report, if you please, Mr. Parkhurst.
Moderate damage to the forehull. Casualty reports pending.
Miss Campbell, what are we dealing with?
Profile unclear, ma'am. Frigate-sized vessel, unknown configuration, but...
What?
Catamaran-style hull framing, Captain. Looks Union.
In Pioneer already?
Miss Campbell, send priority signal to 4 Southwest. Engaged by Union vessel of unknown classification at 6 bells 51 minutes morning. Enclose positional data.
Yes, ma'am.
Helm hard to starboard, 140, mark 19. Straight at him, Mr. Chandra.
140, Mark 19. Aye.
Forced to abandon pursuit of the Namgati, Vanquisher makes for the hostile vessel at best speed to meet their attack head-on. Orders are relayed to the convoy instructing them to scatter until the action has run its course. At a distance of 150,000 kilometers, it will take almost 40 minutes for the 2 frigates to reach close action. And no longer possessing the element of surprise, railgun rounds fired at extreme range by the Union vessel can be easily evaded by Vanquisher.
Mr. Parkhurst, you will order all hands not presently on watch to an early breakfast. Send word to the galley.
Ma'am?
If we clear for action now, we'll have men and women stood at their stations for the better part of an hour, waiting for the shooting to start, driving themselves out of their minds all the while. I've never seen the wisdom in it.
Right you are, ma'am. Bosun's mate, pipe to breakfast, if you please.
The long interception was punctuated by the occasional optimistic and predictably fruitless exchange of torpedoes, with neither frigate scoring any hits. Until at 6 bells and 50 minutes, Vanquisher clears for action and begins combat maneuvers. Hoping to open the action with a lucky raking volley across Vanquisher's bow, the Union vessel maintains its direct bearing for the Centran vessel and opens fire. But Vanquisher has already begun taking action to deny such an opportunity. Riding out some of her momentum from the preceding interception burn, Hawker adjusts course to starboard into a parabolic trajectory across the enemy's port beam. As the Union vessel adjusts course to match, the 2 ships fall into a spiraling turn fight at mid-range, with Vanquisher's port broadside now bearing against the dorsal hull of her adversary.
Steady as she goes, Mr. Chandra. Larboard battery, fire as she bears.
The resulting exchange of coil gun and railgun fire immediately favours Vanquisher with her more numerous batteries, scoring 4 hits to only 1 glancing hit received. Quickly modifying their approach to one more suited to the characteristics of their vessel, the Union captain turns harshly to starboard, while simultaneously rolling into a drastic change of position along the Z-axis. Logically assuming the enemy to be hiding their damaged side, Vanquisher breaks from her circling course in an attempt to predict and cut off this maneuver, but is soon lured into a trap. The Union vessel suddenly cancels out this complex reorientation and returns to its original course, revealing its earlier maneuvering to have been an elaborate feint. With her damaged side now still facing Vanquisher, she opens fire again, having traded a safer position for total surprise. Unable to match the frenetic maneuvering of the more agile Union ship, Vanquisher is caught with her vulnerable stern exposed to enemy fire, and the Union vessel takes quick advantage of this with a brutal, raking volley.
Main engines at half power, ma'am. Serious damage to the mizzen hull. Moderate casualties.
This fellow knows what they're doing. If we let this go on too long, they will have us. Mr. Chandra, lay us alongside at pistol shot. Give me a volley of torpedoes to cover our approach.
Coming hard about to face the approaching enemy, Vanquisher positions itself for a double-shotted port broadside at minimum range as the 2 vessels pass. Vanquisher covers her turn into position with a spread of torpedoes which the enemy vessel is forced to shoot down, further occupying her attentions throughout this crucial moment. The Union vessel begins a half roll to hide its damaged side, this time in earnest, but is too slow, and catches 2 further coil gun rounds and a spread of swivel gunfire into its wounded dorsal hull before it can bring its ventral side to bear. The Union ship attempts to return fire but misses several shots in the confusion, taking more damage to its dorsal and port sides in the process. Breaking away from the engagement and attempting to reposition for a more favourable attack, the Union ship pulls away, with Vanquisher firing a sparse few optimistic chasing shots after her as she withdraws. Hawker begins to consider her next moves and countermoves when something wholly unexpected happens. A massive explosion from the port midships of the enemy vessel consumes half the craft in a ball of flame, obliterating one of its large hull pontoons entirely and leaving the vessel adrift and powerless in a slow clockwise spin.
My God. What happened?
Direct hit to the port dorsal hull with one of the long tens as she was pulling away, ma'am. I think it must have struck some kind of magazine.
Union vessel has struck their colors, ma'am.
Thank you, Miss Campbell. Mr. Chandra, lay us alongside, if you please.
She took a lot more of a beating than we've seen from their other ships, that's for sure.
Miss Campbell, signal Commander Union vessel. This is CSV Vanquisher. We acknowledge your surrender and stand ready to render assistance.
Commander, Union vessel accepts any assistance we can offer, ma'am.
Very good. Swing out the boats, Mr. Parkhurst.
With the action over, and the convoy ordered to reconsolidate, Captain Hawker accompanied the damage control teams to the Union vessel via boat to accept her commander's surrender. At 6 bells on the afternoon of the 57th, the frigate Dalliance arrived to assist Vanquisher. With repairs made to Vanquisher's engines and the Priadella brought under tow by several tugboats, the convoy made the rest of its journey to Validar II without incident, being fortunate to evade the sparse commerce raiding attacks spreading steadily across the Valeria system. Orders were sent out to search for the captured freighter Namgati, but the vessel managed to evade all detection and reach Union space unharmed. Its cargo of 5,000 tons of frozen fruit and 200 acetylene-wielding torches fell into Union hands. Her crew were ransomed back to the assembly 4 weeks after their capture. An inspection of the captured Union frigate revealed operational documents containing significant information about the new vessel, an Alesia-class fast frigate, seemingly one of at most 5 such vessels currently in service, with more to come. Disassembly of the ship's structural components eventually vindicated what many already suspected. The craft was overwhelmingly comprised of Merician components and may even have been designed with the collaboration of commissioned Merician shipwrights. Evidently, the second ship of its class, inspection of the Priadella's orders, revealed her mission to essentially be a test of the ship's abilities. She was the only Alesia-class vessel deployed on the southwestern front, and had performed several gate-running operations to establish its position far behind enemy lines, where its commerce raiding might inflict greater morale damage on the Assembly. When word of this reached the Assembly Parliament, the issue of Merician arms sales and paid support to the Union, called profiteering by many, was thrust into the forefront of debate. But the situation was about to become significantly more complicated. The highly controversial plan for a counterattack on Union space that had been repeatedly pushed by Prime Minister Benedict Forrest and certain members of his cabinet was now finally underway. With a grand force containing more than a dozen ships of the line now gathering over Axios under Vice Admiral Delilah Moret, intent on reaching and destroying the Union's second-largest shipbuilding facility at St. John Wharf over Delstaff.
Thank you for watching. You can get the Sojourn through various distributors, all of which are accessible through www.thesojournaudiodrama.com. You can also get the series through Patreon, where you'll be able to access various bonus features, including our visual dictionary, Guinevere cross-sections, and anthology shorts. Remember to join us on Discord and get regular updates on all upcoming Sojourn releases. All the related links can be found below this video. Fair winds.